Chosen one, you woke up at 3 a.m. again. Same bed you've slept in for 20 years. Same room, same walls. But something's different now, isn't it? That bed doesn't cradle you like it used to. That room feels wrong. Like you're sleeping in someone else's house. Here's what nobody's telling you. That restlessness keeping you awake, that's not insomnia. That anxiety crawling under your skin, that's not your medication. That feeling like you don't belong in your own life anymore, that's not dementia, beloved. That's God. Listen to me carefully. You've been sitting in that same chair, watching that same TV, driving that same route to the grocery store. But lately, something's been vibrating in your chest. Something's been whispering in the silence. Something's been making your spirit pace back and forth like a caged lion that just remembered it was born to hunt. You thought it was just you getting older, getting stranger, losing your grip. But what if I told you it's the opposite? What if you're not losing your mind, you're finding your mission? God is dismantling your comfort on purpose. Think about it. Your old conversations feel hollow now. Your Sunday routine feels like you're going through motions. Even your own family gatherings leave you feeling like a stranger at your own table. You keep asking yourself, what's wrong with me? Nothing. Nothing is wrong with you. You're like an airplane stuck at the gate, engines roaring, ready for takeoff, but your wheels are still locked to the ground. You're like a house with cracks in the foundation still standing, but no longer safe for the season God's bringing you into. This isn't depression, dear one. This is disruption, divine disruption. And there's a reason your spirit is unsettled right now. Before this message ends, you'll understand exactly what God is asking you to move from and where He's asking you to move into. But first, you need to know this isn't happening because you failed. It's happening because you're finally ready. If this is already hitting your spirit like lightning, type in the comments right now, I feel the shift. Let heaven know you're listening. Let me know you're ready. Because what I'm about to tell you next will explain why you can't sleep, why you can't settle, and why staying where you are might be the most dangerous choice you could make. Let me tell you something that's going to sting a little, but you need to hear it. You can't stay where God has already left. I know that sounds harsh. I know you've put years into that place, that relationship, that church pew where you've sat for 30 years, that routine you've built your entire life around. But beloved, I need you to understand something that could save you from wasting what precious time you have left. When God moves on, and you don't just stay the same, you deteriorate. Think about it. That milk in your fridge was good last week, fresh, nourishing. But you left it there too long, didn't you? Now it's curdled, sour, making you sick. The milk didn't turn bad because something was wrong with the milk. It turned bad because it stayed past its season. That's what's happening to you right now. You know that feeling you get walking into that place that used to feel like home, that heaviness in your chest, that exhaustion that hits you the moment you pull into the parking lot. That's not old age, dear one. That's your spirit suffocating in a space that can no longer sustain what God planted in you. Look at Lot's wife. Genesis 19:26, one verse. That's all she gets. But Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Why? Because she couldn't let go of a place God had already condemned. It wasn't that Sodom was comfortable, it was burning. But she'd rather become a monument to her past than a pioneer of her future. How many of you are slowly turning into salt right now, standing frozen between where you were and where you're supposed to be, looking back at a city that's already on fire? Here's what breaks my heart. You're not staying because you're stubborn, you're staying because you're loyal. You made a commitment, you gave your word, you invested decades, and now you think walking away makes you a quitter. But listen to me carefully. There's a difference between quitting and graduating. There's a difference between giving up and growing up. God is not asking you to abandon your integrity. He's asking you to abandon what's killing your spirit. The Israelites knew this struggle. They'd been slaves in Egypt for 400 years. 400 years! That's not just a season, that's generations. And when Moses came with the message, God says, move, you know what they said? Exodus 14:12. Didn't we say to you in Egypt, leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert. They wanted to go back to slavery, back to bondage, back to making bricks without straw. Why? Because familiar pain feels safer than unknown freedom. You've been serving the wrong Pharaoh for too long. That person who's been draining you, that ministry position where your gifts are being buried, that circle where your voice is being silenced, that relationship where you're pouring out but nothing's coming back. You know it's wrong. You feel it in your bones. But you keep showing up because you're afraid of what people will say when you stop. Let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. How many more years are you going to give to something that stopped giving back to you 5 years ago? How many more Sundays are you going to sit in that seat pretending you're being fed when you're actually starving? How many more nights are you going to lie awake wondering why you feel so empty in a place that's supposed to fill you? Those shoes you're wearing? They don't fit anymore. I don't care how expensive they were. I don't care how long you saved up for them. I don't care how good they looked when you first bought them. If they're hurting your feet now, if they're giving you blisters, if every step is agony, then beloved, it's time to take them off. You haven't missed God. You've stayed because you're faithful. But here's the truth that's going to set you free. Loyalty to the wrong season will break your spirit. God is not punishing you by making you uncomfortable. He's inviting you out. He's calling you forward. He's saying, what I have for you next cannot fit into where you are now. You've outgrown this. The anointing I'm about to pour on you will crack the container you're trying to stay in. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to list very specific signs that God is saying to you right now, you've outgrown this place. It's time to move. Signs that will make everything clear. Signs that will confirm what your spirit has been trying to tell you for months. Don't click away. Don't get distracted. This might be the conversation that saves you from another 5 years of spiritual suffocation. But first, you need to understand this. The danger isn't just staying where God has moved on from. The danger is what happens to your destiny when you refuse to follow the pillar of fire. Because if God is moving and you're not, then tell me something. Who exactly are you following? Now I know what you're thinking. This restlessness I'm feeling, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm making something out of nothing. Maybe God doesn't actually speak like this anymore. But let me show you something that's going to rock your world. This pattern, this divine disruption, this holy command to move, it's not new, it's not random, and it's definitely not just you. Look at Abraham. Genesis 12:1. God walks into this man's comfortable life and says 5 words that changed human history. Leave your country and go. Go where, Lord? To the land I will show you. Wait, you mean you're not even going to tell me the address? You're not giving me a roadmap? You want me to pack up everything, leave everyone I know, and just trust you? Yes, that's exactly what God said. And here's the part that should give you chills right now. Abraham was 75 years old. 75! In a time when life expectancy was maybe 40, 50 years if you were lucky. This man was ancient by their standards. He should have been settling into his sunset years, bouncing grandkids on his knee, telling old war stories. But God said, move. And Abraham, this old man with creaking knees and a barren wife, he moved. He packed up, he went, and he became the father of faith, the father of nations, the man through whom every family on earth would be blessed. Your age is not your disqualification, it's your credential. But wait, there's more. Let's talk about Moses. Exodus 3. This man is 80 years old, 80 tending sheep on the backside of nowhere. His glory days are 40 years behind him. He tried to be a deliverer once and failed miserably. He's convinced his season is over, his chance is gone, his assignment expired. Then God shows up in a burning bush and says, "I'm sending you to Pharaoh." Moses argues, "Lord, I'm nobody, I'm too old, I can't speak well, send someone else." But God wasn't asking Moses if he felt ready. God was announcing that Moses was positioned. Every year in that desert, every sheep Moses led through dangerous terrain, every moment he thought he was wasting time, God was building something. At 80, Moses didn't retire. He was rehired for the biggest assignment in human history. You think your moving days are over? Moses would laugh at that. You think you're too old to start something new? Abraham would tell you you're right on time. You think your best chapters are behind you? The disciples would say you haven't read the end of your book yet. Because look at the disciples. Matthew was sitting at a tax booth, counting money, settled into his career. Peter and Andrew were seasoned fishermen with established businesses. They had routines, families, responsibilities. Then Jesus walks by and says 2 words, "Follow me." Not think about it, not when you're ready. Follow, move, now. And they dropped everything, left their nets mid-cast, walked away from the only life they'd ever known. Why? Because when God says move, staying becomes more dangerous than going. Let me tell you what's really happening here. God is not asking you to move because He's disappointed in where you are. He's asking you to move because He's excited about where you're going. He's not closing doors to punish you. He's closing doors to protect you from settling for less than He has prepared. You're not being evicted, beloved. You're being relocated. There's a difference. One is rejection, the other is promotion. But here's the urgency I need you to feel in your bones right now. God's train is pulling into your station. You can see it, you can hear the whistle, the doors are about to open. But you're standing on the platform thinking, "I'm too tired for a journey. I'm too old for an adventure. I'm too set in my ways for a new beginning." And while you're thinking, the train is preparing to leave. With or without you. Every dream you buried because someone said you were too old, God is resurrected. Every calling you walked away from because life got hard, God is reactivating it. Every gift you stopped using because nobody seemed to notice, God is about to showcase it on a stage you never imagined. But He can't take you there if you won't get on the train. Just because your body got older doesn't mean your assignment expired. Just because your hair turned gray doesn't mean your calling turned cold. Just because the world told you to sit down doesn't mean heaven told you to shut down. If you believe God can still call you in this stage of life, I need you to do something right now. Type in the comments, "Lord, I'm still available." That's not just a comment. That's your digital altar. That's you telling heaven, "I hear you. I feel the shift. I'm ready to move." Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the signs, the unmistakable, undeniable signs that this move isn't just a thought in your head, but a holy instruction from heaven itself. And when you see these signs in your own life, you'll never question this restlessness again. Now listen to me carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is going to explain everything you've been feeling but couldn't put into words. There are 7 unmistakable signs that God is not just suggesting you move, He's commanding it. And if even 3 of these are showing up in your life right now, this isn't coincidence. This is heaven issuing marching orders. Sign number 1. You feel invisible in places you once felt central. You used to matter there. Your opinion carried weight. People listened when you spoke. But now you walk into that church, that family gathering, that community meeting, and it's like you're a ghost. They talk over you, they forget to call you, they make decisions without even asking, and you keep telling yourself, maybe I'm being sensitive. No, beloved, that's God removing your significance from a place He's removing you from. When God is ready to relocate you, He makes your current location uncomfortable. You're not losing relevance, you're being repositioned. Sign number 2. Every conversation feels like reruns. Same stories, same complaints, same shallow small talk about weather and health problems. You try to go deeper, but they pull back. You want to talk about purpose, about God, about the stirring in your spirit, but their eyes glaze over. Proverbs 27:17 says, "Iron sharpens iron, but you're surrounded by dull blades that don't want sharpening." When God is moving you forward, He'll make backward conversations unbearable. Your spirit has already graduated from that level. Sign number 3. Doors that used to swing, open now slam shut. You've been trying to make things work, trying to fix that relationship, trying to force that opportunity, trying to stay connected to that ministry, that job, that situation. But every attempt hits a wall. You pray, you push, you try harder, nothing. That's not rejection, dear one. That's redirection. God is your divine GPS, and He keeps recalculating every time you try to go back the old way. When He says move, He'll lock every door behind you so you can't retreat into comfort. Sign number 4. Your spirit gets heavy every time you go there. Pay attention to this one. You walk into that building, that relationship, that commitment, and something drops in your chest like a stone. The joy is gone, the peace has left. You feel drained, not filled. Your body might be present, but your spirit is screaming, "We don't belong here anymore." That heaviness isn't depression, it's discernment. Your spirit knows before your mind accepts it. When God is removing you from a place, He'll remove His presence from that place in your life first. Sign number 5. Divine delays keep blocking your plans. You've been trying to make something happen. Tried 3 times, 4 times, 10 times, but something always goes wrong. The timing falls through, the money doesn't come, the person backs out, and you're frustrated, thinking God isn't answering. But what if He's answering by saying no? What if those delays are divine protection? Psalm 37:23 tells us, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord." Ordered, that means sometimes God orders your stops, not just your steps. He'll block what He's not blessing. Sign number 6. New opportunities keep showing up in the same direction. This is where it gets interesting. While old doors are slamming, new windows keep cracking open. Someone mentions a new church across town twice in 1 week. You keep seeing articles about a certain city. A stranger asks if you've ever considered starting that ministry you dreamed about 20 years ago. These aren't random coincidences. These are divine breadcrumbs. God is showing you the path before He pushes you onto it. When the same opportunity keeps appearing from different sources, that's confirmation, not confusion. Sign number 7. Your dream life has changed. Listen to this carefully. You keep dreaming about packing suitcases, about moving into new houses with rooms you've never seen, about crossing bridges over water, about traveling to places you don't recognize, about saying goodbye. Your subconscious is receiving downloads your conscious mind hasn't accepted yet. Joel 2:28 promises, "Your old men shall dream dreams. God speaks in the night because that's when your resistance is down." Your spirit has already packed the suitcase. Your body just hasn't caught up yet. Now let me ask you something that's going to cut straight to your soul. How many of those signs are active in your life right now? 1, 3, all 7? Because if even 3 of these are reading your mail, this isn't random. This is heaven saying with absolute clarity, daughter, son, you cannot stay here any longer. Let that sink in for a moment. This is your burning bush moment. This is God calling your name from the fire of holy disruption. And just like Moses, you have a choice: keep tending sheep in the wilderness of comfort, or step toward the flame and receive your assignment. If these signs are tracking you down, if you feel exposed right now like I've been reading your journal, type in the comments, I hear you, Lord. Don't you dare leave this video. Stay right here with me, because what I'm about to show you next will explain why the warfare actually increases when you get close to obeying God's instruction to move, and why that warfare is proof you're going in the right direction. You know what's been happening to you lately, don't you? Right when you felt that holy stirring, right when you heard God whisper move, everything went wrong. Your daughter called with that tone in her voice, the one that says, Mom, don't you think you're being a little dramatic? Your son showed up unannounced with concern in his eyes, asking if you've been taking your medications. The money got tight, tighter than it's been in months. That medical bill you thought was handled, it came back. That car that was running fine, check engine light. The body that was cooperating. Suddenly your back's out, your knees swollen, you're more tired than you've been in years. And you're sitting there thinking, maybe this is a sign, maybe I heard wrong, maybe God's telling me to stay put. No, beloved, that's not what's happening at all. Let me tell you something that's going to shift your entire perspective. Hell doesn't fight you for staying where you are. Hell fights you for moving toward where you're called. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on people who aren't going anywhere. He reserves his heaviest artillery for the ones about to cross into their promised land. You think it's coincidence that right when you felt God's pull, everyone suddenly had an opinion about your life. That right when you sensed it was time to move physically, spiritually, emotionally, the pressure came from every direction. Family guilt, financial squeeze, physical breakdown, emotional exhaustion. That's not God saying no. That's hell screaming, yes, yes, you're on the right path, and yes, they're terrified of where you're headed. Think about the Israelites at the Red Sea. They'd finally left Egypt. They'd walked away from 400 years of bondage. They were moving toward freedom. And what happened? Pharaoh's army showed up behind them with 600 chariots. The water was ahead. The enemy was behind. They were trapped. And they did exactly what you're doing right now. They panicked. They questioned. Exodus 14:11 records their words. Is it because there are no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? They wanted to go back to slavery, back to the familiar hell they knew. But Moses said something that's going to anchor your soul tonight. Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The pressure wasn't proof they'd made a mistake. The pressure was proof they were about to witness a miracle. You're at your Red Sea right now. Behind you is everything familiar, the comfort, the routine, the life you've known for decades. Ahead of you is the unknown, and the enemy is showing up with every weapon he's got, trying to convince you to turn around. But here's what you need to understand about spiritual warfare and transition. The storm right before takeoff doesn't mean you're not going to reach your destination. Turbulence isn't cancellation, it's confirmation. When a plane's wheels leave the ground, everything shakes. When a rocket breaks through the atmosphere, the pressure is most intense at the moment of breakthrough. You're not falling apart. You're breaking through. Listen to me carefully. When God moves you, 3 things always happen. First, the familiar becomes uncomfortable. Second, resistance shows up from every direction. Third, your own mind becomes a battlefield. You start second-guessing everything. Am I too old for this? Am I being selfish? What will people think? What if I fail? Those thoughts aren't wisdom. their warfare. The enemy knows something about you that you're still remembering. He knows that where you're going, you're dangerous. Where you're headed, you're powerful. The next chapter of your life terrifies hell because they've seen the blueprint. They know what God's about to do through you if you just keep moving. Your family doesn't understand because they can't see what you see. They're looking at your age, your circumstances, your limitations. But God's been showing you something else, hasn't he? A glimpse, a knowing, a fire that won't go out no matter how much water life throws on it. Giants were in the promised land too. Numbers 13 tells us that when the spies came back, 10 of them saw obstacles. Only 2 saw opportunity. The 10 said, "We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes." But Joshua and Caleb said, "We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it." Same land, same giants, different vision. You're tired of fighting. You're tired of explaining yourself. You're tired of defending a calling that others can't see. I know. But hear me, you're not crazy. You're in transition. And transition always looks like chaos right before it looks like victory. The rubber band is being stretched back right now. It feels like tension. It feels like you're being held in place. But that tension, it's not restraint. It's preparation for the strongest launch of your life. So what exactly is God moving you into? Because he never pulls you out of something without having already prepared something better. He's not cruel, he's strategic. And where he's taking you next will make every battle you're fighting right now make perfect sense. If you've been feeling this pressure, just whisper it right now. Lord, give me strength to finish this move. Because what you're about to discover is why every giant, every obstacle, every attack was actually proof that you're closer than you think. Now listen to me carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is going to shatter every lie you've believed about your future. You thought God was moving you out of something and into nothing, into the sunset, into the rocking chair, into irrelevance. But that's not what's happening here. That's not what this divine restlessness means. God is not pushing you toward an ending. He's positioning you for the most important beginning of your entire life. Let me paint you a picture of where you're actually going. For some of you, God is moving you from busy religion into quiet intimacy. You've spent 50, 60, 70 years serving on committees, running programs, showing up to every church event, because that's what good Christians do. But lately, all that noise feels empty, doesn't it? All that activity feels hollow. You're exhausted from doing and starving for just being. God is saying, "Come away with me. I don't need your service right now. I want your presence. I want the real you, not the performing you." Think about Mary sitting at Jesus' feet while Martha ran herself ragged in the kitchen. Jesus looked at Martha and said, "You are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Loke kymmenen, 40 Only one thing, beloved. Intimacy. Everything else is just noise." For others, God is moving you from being needed by everyone to being nourished by God. Your whole life, people have taken from you. Your children needed you. Your spouse needed you. Your job needed you. Your church needed you. You gave and gave and gave until there was nothing left but fumes and responsibility. But now God is saying, "It's your turn. Let me fill what they emptied. Let me restore what they took." This isn't selfish, this is survival. You can't pour from an empty cup, and yours has been bone dry for decades. Some of you are being moved from toxic family dynamics into healthy boundaries and peaceful relationships. And I know that sounds impossible at your age. You've dealt with that difficult daughter for 40 years, that son who only calls when he needs money, that sister who's poisoned every family gathering since 1987. You thought you just had to endure it until you died. But God is whispering something radical. Set them down. You don't have to carry people who refuse to walk. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Guard it, chosen one, even from family, especially from family." For many of you, this move is physical. God is literally relocating you. That house you've lived in for 35 years? It's become a prison, not a home. Those stairs are trying to kill you. That neighborhood has changed into something you don't recognize. That cold climate is attacking your arthritis like a personal vendetta. God is saying, move. I have a place prepared for you where your body can rest, your spirit can breathe, and your calling can flourish. Don't let fear of the unknown keep you in a place that's slowly destroying you. But here's where it gets powerful. For some of you, God is moving you from silent suffering into bold testimony. You've been quiet about your story for too long. That addiction you conquered 20 years ago, that depression that almost took you out, that marriage that survived infidelity, that bankruptcy you rebuilt from. You thought that chapter was closed, meant to be buried and forgotten. But God is saying, no, that's not your shame. That's your weapon. There's a generation drowning in the same waters you survived, and they need to know there's a way out. Your silence has protected you, but your voice will save them. Here's what you need to understand. You thought God was done writing with you. You thought your story reached its final page somewhere back in your 50s, and everything since then has just been epilogue, just filler, just waiting for the end credits to roll. But what if this move, this holy disruption, this divine restlessness, what if this isn't an ending at all? What if this is the biggest plot twist of your entire life? What if God looked at your first 70 years and said, that was just the setup. Now comes the masterpiece? God doesn't waste decades preparing you for nothing. He doesn't refine gold just to leave it in the furnace. He doesn't train warriors just to put them in retirement homes. Every year you've lived, every battle you've survived, every lesson you've learned, it's all been preparation for where you're going right now. Moses was 80 when he faced Pharaoh. 80. The move God asked him to make at 80 made everything before it looked like warm-up exercises. You're not moving from something into nothing. You're moving from the waiting room into the operating room, from preparation into purpose, from rehearsal into the performance that will echo through eternity. In the next section, we're going to talk about exactly how to move without losing your mind, your peace, or your faith. Because I know you're feeling it right now, that pull to go, mixed with that terror of leaving. But if this is speaking to you, don't just watch and disappear. Hit subscribe right now. Share this with one person you know is in transition, and type in the comments, I'm ready to move, because we're about to pray over every single person who declares it. The question burning in your chest right now is this: how do I actually do it? How do I move when everything in me wants to stay safe? You know what breaks my heart? I meet people in their 70s, 80s, sitting across from me at their kitchen tables, and they whisper, Pastor, I hear God calling me to move, but I don't know where to start. I'm too old to figure this out. Let me sit with you right now, right where you are, and walk you through this. Because here's what God never asks you to do: jump off a cliff blindfolded. He's not asking you to sell your house tomorrow, move across the country by Friday, or make some reckless decision that lands you in chaos. That's not how the Almighty operates with His chosen ones. Listen to what He told the Israelites in Deuteronomy 1:21. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Notice He didn't say, figure it all out first. He said, don't be afraid. Because movement starts with surrender, not certainty. So here's your first step, and it's simpler than you think. Stop denying what you're feeling. Stop explaining it away. Stop calling it depression or old age or loneliness. Name it in prayer, right now. Out loud if you have to. Say, God, I feel you stirring me. I feel you unsettling me. I don't understand it, but I'm listening. That's it. That's your first act of obedience, acknowledgement. Because until you stop fighting the restlessness and start recognizing it as God's voice, you're going to stay stuck at that gate with your engines roaring and your wheels locked. Now here's your second step. Ask for clarity. Not just once, daily. Get on your knees if your body allows it. Sit in your chair if it doesn't, and pray this simple prayer. Lord, show me where you want me to move and how you want me to do it. You see, God doesn't expect you to have the blueprint. He expects you to ask for it. James 1-5 says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally." Liberally, that means generously, without holding back, without making you jump through hoops. But here's where most people get paralyzed. They're waiting for a burning bush, a voice from heaven, a sign written in the clouds. And meanwhile, God's whispering, just make the phone call, just set the boundary, just visit that church you've been thinking about, just have that conversation you've been avoiding. Third step, start with one obedient change. 1, not 10. Not a complete life overhaul. One small shift in the direction God's been nudging you. Think about turning a massive ship in the ocean. You don't spin the wheel violently and flip the whole vessel. You make a small, steady adjustment to the rudder, and over time, the entire ship changes course. That's how God moves you at 75 years old. Small wheel turns, big direction changes. Maybe it's one phone call to someone God's been putting on your heart. Maybe it's setting one boundary with a family member who's been draining your spirit. Maybe it's visiting one place he's been whispering about for months. You don't need to understand the whole journey. You just need to take the next step he's showing you. But I need to tell you something that's going to set you free. Seek wise counsel. Not just any counsel. Not your friends who are terrified of change themselves. Not your children who want to keep you comfortable because it makes their lives easier. Find spiritually mature voices who understand that God doesn't retire his chosen ones at 65. Proverbs 11:14 says, "Where there is no counsel, the people fall, but in the multitude of counselors there is safety." Find people who've walked with God long enough to recognize when he's moving someone into a new season. And here's your fourth step. Write it down. Get a notebook. Write down what God shows you. Write down the dreams that wake you up at 3 a.m. Write down the confirmations that make your spirit leap. Write down the verses that won't leave you alone. Habakkuk 2:2 says, "Write the vision and make it plain." Why? Because memory fades, doubt creeps in, and 6 months from now, when you're questioning if you really heard God, you'll have evidence written in your own hand that he spoke. Now, listen to me carefully, because this next part is where most older believers get stuck. Release the guilt. You are allowed to outgrow assignments. You are allowed to leave churches that no longer feed your spirit. You are allowed to step back from family roles that have become prisons instead of purposes. You're not abandoning anyone. You're not being selfish. You're being obedient. There's a difference between being needed and being called. God is calling you somewhere new, and the guilt you feel about leaving the old? That's not conviction. That's manipulation from people who benefit from you staying stuck. Think about a plant being repotted. For a moment, the roots are exposed. It feels vulnerable, dangerous even. But that exposure isn't harm. It's the necessary step before greater growth. You're not dying, beloved. You're being repotted. And here's your final instruction. Move at God's pace, not people's. This isn't a race. This isn't about impressing anyone or proving anything. Exodus 13:21 shows us that God led Israel with a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. When the cloud moved, they moved. When it stayed, they stayed. You're not starting from zero, dear one. You're starting from wisdom. You're starting from decades of knowing God's voice. You're starting from a foundation of faith that's been tested and proven. That's not a disadvantage. That's your greatest asset. But what about the fear? What about that voice screaming, "What if I fail? What if I'm too old? What if this ruins everything?" That fear is exactly where we're going next. Because that fear isn't just doubt. It's a weapon the enemy uses to keep chosen ones paralyzed right at the edge of their greatest breakthrough. I know what you're thinking right now. I can hear it through this screen because I've heard it 1,000 times from people just like you. That's beautiful, but I'm 73 years old. I'm tired. My body hurts. My best days are behind me. Stop. Right there. Stop. That voice in your head telling you it's too late? That's not wisdom, beloved. That's not reality. That's a demonic whisper that's been playing on repeat so long you started believing it was your own thought. But let me tell you something that's going to shatter that lie into a million pieces. Abraham was 75 years old when God told him to pack up everything and move to a land he'd never seen. 75? That's retirement age. That's when you're supposed to be settling in, not setting out. But God said go, and Abraham went. And you know what happened? He became the father of nations. Not because he was young, not because he was strong, but because he was obedient. Sarah was 90 years old when she gave birth to Isaac. 90. Her body was past menopause. Logic said impossible. Medicine said impossible. Biology said impossible. But God doesn't operate on biology. He operates on destiny. And her womb, that the world called dead, God called it ready. You think you're too old? Caleb was 85 years old when he stood before Joshua and said something that should be echoing in your spirit right now. He said, "I am still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I'm just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then. Now give me this hill country that the Lord promised me." 85 years old, and he's asking for mountains. Not asking for a rocking chair, not asking for peace and quiet. Asking for the hardest fight left on the battlefield. So let me ask you something that might sting. When did you decide that God's promises have expiration dates? When did you agree that His calling on your life comes with an age limit? Who told you that the same God who numbered every hair on your head suddenly stops counting when those hairs turn gray? Nobody. Nobody told you that, because it's not true. Here's what's true. Age has taken your speed, but it hasn't touched your anointing. Your hands might shake, but heaven still recognizes your voice. Your knees might be weaker, but your prayers hit harder than they ever have. Because you're not praying theory anymore. You're praying from experience. You're praying from a place of having walked through the valley and lived to testify. You know what you are. You're vintage wine. And vintage wine doesn't lose value with age. It gains it. Every year you've lived, every trial you've survived, every tear you've cried has been adding flavor, adding depth, adding richness to who you are. The world looks at your age and sees decline. God looks at your age and sees refinement. You're like an old tree that stood through 100 storms. Sure, you can't be moved as easily as a sapling. But you know what? Your roots run deeper. You can drink from waters the young ones don't even know exist yet. You can weather winds that would snap them in half. But I'm so tired. I hear you. I see you. You are tired. You've earned the right to be tired. But there's a difference between tired and finished. There's a difference between needing rest and being done. And God didn't bring you this far, through everything you've survived, just to let you rust out in the garage. But what if I'm wrong? What if I move and it's a mistake? What if you don't move and you miss the greatest chapter God had planned for you? What if you stay stuck in comfortable and forfeit miraculous? What if the very thing you're afraid to do is the very thing your grandchildren will tell their grandchildren about? You're standing at a crossroads right now. One path says, play it safe, stay comfortable, don't risk anything. The other path says, trust me one more time, even though you're scared, even though you're tired, even though it doesn't make sense. And I'm about to pray over you like you're my own family. I'm about to prophesy over your life with the same fierce love I'd use on my own mother or father. Because in a moment, the courage to move is going to hit your spirit so strong that every excuse, every fear, every lie about being too old or too late is going to crumble like dust. But first, I need you to do something. If you've believed the lie that you're too old, too tired, too late, I need you to break that agreement right now. Write in the comments, I renounce the lie. My story isn't over. That's not just a comment. That's your declaration of war against every limiting belief that's held you hostage. Because here's what God just whispered to my spirit about you. Listen to me, chosen one. Right now, in this very moment, something is shifting in the heavenly realm over your life. Angels are repositioning themselves. Doors you couldn't see are creaking open, and God Himself is standing at the edge of where you are, extending His hand like a father about to walk his child across a busy street. But here's the question that's burning in my spirit. How much longer are you going to stand on that curb? You've been praying for breakthrough. You've been asking for clarity. You've been crying out for God to show you what's next. And beloved, He just did. This message didn't find you by accident. The discomfort in your spirit isn't confusion, it's confirmation. God is saying, move. And the question isn't whether you heard Him, the question is whether you'll obey Him. Because here's what's going to haunt you if you don't. Here's what's going to keep you awake at 3 a.m. for the rest of your life. The thought that you heard God's voice clearly, felt His hand reaching for yours, sensed His Spirit calling you forward, and you stayed anyway. You chose familiar over faithful. You chose comfortable over called. You chose the safety of yesterday over the assignment of tomorrow. And I need you to understand something that's going to cut deep. You can die in the wrong place. You can take your last breath in a location God left years ago. You can spend your final years locked in a season He already closed, surrounded by people He already released you from, doing things He already told you to stop doing. Deuteronomy 34 tells us, Moses died on Mount Nebo, looking at the promised land but never entering it. Why? Because there's a moment when the door closes. There's a time when the invitation expires. There's a season when God says, I called you forward, but you refused to move. So you'll see the blessing from a distance, but never touch it. Is that what you want? To die with your music still in you? To cross over with your purpose still locked inside? To meet Jesus carrying dreams you were too afraid to birth, too comfortable to pursue, too settled to step into? No, not you. Not after everything you've survived. Not after every storm you've weathered, every valley you've walked, every mountain you've climbed. You didn't come this far to stay where you are. So right now, wherever you're sitting, I want you to stop everything. Close your eyes if you can. Place your hand on your heart, and let's do something together that's going to change the trajectory of your entire future. Repeat after me, and mean it with everything in you. Lord, if you're telling me to move, I will not stay where you've left. I will not build my future in a place you've already abandoned. I will not grow roots in soil you've already declared barren. From this moment forward, where you go, I go. Where you lead, I follow. Where you plant me, I flourish. Now, I want you to feel this. I'm speaking directly over your life right now, and I'm declaring things that are shifting in the spirit realm as I speak. I declare boldness over you. The same boldness that made Joshua cross the Jordan, the same courage that made Abraham leave Ur, the same faith that made Moses stretch his hand over the Red Sea. You will not be paralyzed by fear anymore. You will not second-guess what God has already made clear. I declare clarity over you. The fog lifts right now. The confusion breaks. The doubts scatter like roaches when the light comes on. You will know what to do. You will know where to go. You will know who to take with you and who to leave behind. Isaiah 30:21 says, "Your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.'" That voice is speaking right now. I declare protection over you. Every weapon formed against this transition fails. Every voice that mocks your obedience loses its power. Every spirit that whispers, "You're too old, too late, too broken," is silenced by the blood of Jesus. Psalm 91 covers you. Angels are assigned to you. You are marked and you are guarded. I declare provision over you. You will not move into lack. You will not step into emptiness. Before your foot touches the new ground, God has already prepared the path. He's already opened the door. He's already sent the people. He's already allocated the resources. Philippians 4:19 promises, "My God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory." But now I need to break something off you, because there are chains trying to hold you in the old place. I break the spirit of fear of change. The lie that says you're too old to start over, too settled to be uprooted, too tired to begin again. That's not God's voice. That's the enemy trying to keep you trapped in a tomb God already emptied. I break the spirit of isolation and loneliness. The fear that if you leave, you'll be alone. The terror that no one will understand, no one will come with you, no one will support your obedience. But beloved, you were never called to take a crowd with you. You were called to follow the cloud. And anyone who's supposed to be in your next season will recognize the move when God makes it. I break the spirit of guilt. Guilt for leaving people behind, guilt for closing chapters, guilt for outgrowing places that once fit you. But listen to me, you're not abandoning anyone, you're obeying someone. And God will never ask you to sacrifice his will for someone else's comfort. Now hear this word from heaven. It's burning in my spirit like fire in my bones. You will not die in the wrong place. You will not take your last breath in a location God has already left. You will die empty, not full of unpoured purpose. Every dream he planted in you will find soil. Every gift he gave you will find expression. Every word he put in your mouth will find an audience. Picture this. God is taking you by the hand right now, like a father crossing his child over a busy street. You don't need to see every car. You don't need to know every detail. You just need to hold his hand and walk when he says walk. Stop when he says stop. Trust when he says trust. You're standing on a bridge of light. You can't see the whole road, but the next 3 steps are glowing. That's all you need. Take step 1. The second step lights up. Take step 2. The third step appears. This is how faith works. This is how obedience moves. From this day forward, may it be written in heaven's records. When God said, "Move," you didn't stay where you were. When he called your name, you answered. When he extended his hand, you took it. You obeyed. If you prayed with me, if you felt something shift, if you're ready to stop resisting and start responding, write this in the comments right now. I'm moving with God. That's your public yes. That's your declaration to heaven and hell that you're stepping out of the old season and into the new one. Write it, seal it, and watch what God does when you finally say yes. Beloved, do you feel it? Do you feel what just happened in your spirit over these last 60 minutes? You felt the holy restlessness, that 3 a.m. awakening that won't let you sleep in your old comfort. You saw the danger of staying how the Israelites died in wilderness because they refused to cross into promise. You heard the pattern in the word: Abraham leaving Ur, Moses leaving Egypt, Ruth leaving Moab. Every chosen one called to move when it made no sense to the natural mind. You recognized the signs, the divine dissatisfaction, the doors closing behind you, the conversations that suddenly feel empty, the routines that used to bring peace, now bringing restlessness instead. You learned how to move not with a plan, but with a pulse, not with a map, but with a mandate from the Almighty Himself. You broke the lies, the lie that you're too old, the lie that your season has passed, the lie that comfortable is the same thing as blessed, and you received the prayer, the commissioning, the release. But now comes the moment that separates those who were merely inspired from those who will be transformed. Now comes the question that will determine whether tonight was just another video you watched, or the night everything changed. What are you going to do about it? You see, dear one, you don't have to have all the details tonight. You don't need to know the address of where you're going. You don't need to see the full blueprint of what God is building. You just need to stop pretending you're supposed to stay where God has already left. Did you hear me? God has already left the building. He's not in your comfort zone anymore. He's in your calling zone. And if you stay planted where He's no longer present, you won't be resting, you'll be resisting. And resistance to God's movement is the most dangerous place a chosen one can stand. Let me tell you what I need you to do right now. Before you close this video, before you move on to the next thing, before the conviction fades and the old patterns try to reclaim their territory in your mind, first, go back. Rewatch the parts that hit you hardest. You know which ones I'm talking about. The moments when your chest got tight, when tears came out of nowhere, when something in your spirit said, "Yes, that's me." Those weren't accidents. Those were divine markers. God was circling the areas He's asking you to move from. Second, get alone with Him tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. Turn off that TV, put down that phone, sit in the quiet and ask Him the honest question: Lord, where are you asking me to move from? And where are you asking me to move into? Then listen. Don't rush. Don't fill the silence with religious words. Just listen. He will answer you. Jeremiah 33:3 promises, "Call to me, and I will answer you, and show you great and mighty things which you do not know." If this word confirmed what you've been sensing deep in your bones, I need you to do something for me right now. Tell me in the comments how God is asking you to move. Is it physical, a literal relocation He's been whispering about? Is it emotional, leaving behind relationships that are draining the life He's trying to pour into you? Is it spiritual, stepping into a calling you've been running from because it felt too big, too late, too impossible? Write it down. Not for me, for you. Because when you type it, when you speak it, when you make it tangible, you're making a covenant with heaven that you heard the call and you're responding. Here's what else I know. You're a chosen one in transition, and transition is the loneliest season of the human experience. You need others who understand what it means to leave what's familiar and follow what's faithful. That's why this community exists. We're not just viewers on a screen, we're a family of the called, the moved, the unsettled on purpose saints of God. If you don't want to walk this road alone, stay connected. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. Let's walk this journey together. Every week, we're going to dig deeper into what it means to live as a chosen one in a world that wants you to settle, shrink, and stay small. And here's the most important thing: there is someone in your family right now. Maybe a sister in another state. Maybe your grown son who's stuck in a career that's killing his spirit. Maybe a friend from church who keeps saying they're fine, but you know they're dying inside. They're stuck where God is trying to move them from, and they need this word. Send this to them. Let this be your way of saying, I love you too much to watch you stay stuck. I see what God is doing, even if you can't see it yet. One message could be the divine interruption that changes the trajectory of their entire life. Listen to me one more time before I release you. I need you to hear this with every fiber of your being. You're not crazy. You're not losing your mind. You're not washed up, worn out, or past your expiration date. You are a chosen one. And when God says, move, it's never a punishment. It's always a promotion. He's not pushing you out of blessing. He's pulling you toward your promised land. He's already gone ahead of you. He's already prepared the place. He's already fighting the battles. He's already opened the doors. All he's asking is that you trust him enough to take the first step away from where you've been comfortable and into where you've been called. The train is at the platform, beloved. This video wasn't an accident. This was God pulling up to your station one more time. Engines running, door open, conductor calling your name. The question is, are you getting on?